All right, so I'll do that again. So welcome everybody. I am overwhelmed by the awesome participation at 41. I'm Rick. You guys all know Jim, and we're here to use Zoom to teach and then learn synchronously online. This is going to be, I think, really cool. So I'm going to mute everybody just to keep down the noise here. And then if you guys need to, you can raise your hand or unmute. And we'll go from there. All right, so what is Zoom and how do I get it? So Zoom is a video conferencing platform. So visually, you see me. Some people are there, some people are not with cameras. Some people could be shy or whatever. But you can have camera, screen sharing, which is really cool. And then it has built-in voice over IP audio, or you could use the plain old telephone system. So there's two ways. Once you jump into Zoom, it'll say, do you want to connect through audio on a computer? And that's going to be voice over IP, which is actually really crystal clear and awesome. Or you can use your telephone if you like. What I think one of the cool, powerful things about Zoom is all the platforms that it's enabled on: Windows, Mac, Linux, and then iOS phones and tablets, as well as Android phone and tablets. So there's two different versions of Zoom. There's a basic version. So it has some limited features, but the big thing is it has 40 minutes for group meeting. So what we're in now would be considered a group meeting. The Pro version has unlimited meeting duration, plus you can do user management like I'm doing here with the participants and muting. The cool thing is through the Chancellor's Office, they have a site license for Zoom Pro, and it's absolutely free for us. So if you just go to this link right here, www.ccconfer, there's 4 C's in here, .org, you can sign up. It's quick, it's painless, and you're on Zoom Pro.
Hey, Rick?
Yes.
Could we ask folks to turn on their cameras?
Sure. So you're invited to turn on your camera, just because that kind of helps us build community, but perhaps some people are in their bunny slippers or whatever, and or having a bad hair day. So for those, but the more the merrier on the cameras, just because. So great. All right.
Just as a note, I would say that when you're working with students online, I would be really leery of giving them the out on the camera, because when we teach classes, you don't have an option to participate anonymously. And I think when people aren't on camera, the people who are on camera feel like maybe they shouldn't be on camera. And it creates a different atmosphere. So for something like this, I don't think it's a problem or a concern. But if you're teaching students online, you should really think about whether you want them to be online without showing their faces. Because I think there are issues with that. And whatever you decide on that, I think it's a good idea to lay it out in your syllabus.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great comment, Jim. So yeah, I think if you just put it out there saying, hey, those participating are strongly encouraged, it could be that somebody's, just can't do it or whatever. But yeah, I think it definitely adds that next level of bringing almost like a virtual reality community into the conversation. So I definitely encourage, like Jim, to use cameras. I think it takes it to that next level. So what I wanted to do is quickly roll through some use cases. So hopefully by now you're kind of sold. It's like free. And I will say that Zoom, I've been using Zoom for about 4 or 5 years now, when I was a pilot way back when with community college, when I was over at Mesa. And it truly is, it has transformed the way I teach, especially for online. I can't say enough about it. So what I wanted to do is go through some quick use cases, and use case number 5 is going to be one of the most powerful things I think we can do, and that's going to be synchronously doing online sessions with breakout rooms that Jim's going to walk us through. So use case 1, perhaps some of my faculty colleagues have heard this before from a student. Sorry, I missed class today. Did we cover anything important? We all laugh, but yes, we actually did. So I'm like, yes, we actually covered some important things, and I encourage you to go back into the archive to do it. So what I do is for all of my class sessions, I actually capture voice and screen sharing, just like I'm doing here. And I actually have this Wacom tablet. I'll pull out of my bag really quick so you guys can see this. but it's a little bit expensive. It's you can get smaller ones, but this one's like $200, I think. But what it allows you to do is just like write on a screen like John Madden. So instead of me turning around and going to the blackboard, what I'll do is I will be in a PowerPoint and I'll just kind of use that as my whiteboard, because I know that what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually post the archive out there so that the online sections can see it. And yes, the actual online students will watch. But I think one of the coolest things about this use case is using technology for equity. I've had so many ESL students come up to me and say, thank you so much, just because they're trying to absorb the English in class and sometimes it's hard. They're actually able to go back and to look at the archives and see it a couple of times, and it really clicks and solidifies in them. So I love that capability. Connecting with your online students to create community. So one of the things we do in the CSIT department is we have our instructors post 10 to 15-minute videos each week to kind of kick off the week for the online students. So, and I really think this allows me for the students to see me. So now they're thinking, oh, I really am attached to this person. There's a live person on the other line. I'm just not taking this online course in a cave somewhere. There is actually community, and I'll use that to go over this week's activities, and then also provide feedback from last week's effort. So in a classroom, that's very easy, but for our online students, especially if there's maybe like 4 or 5 students that didn't get a concept, it allows me to go back and say, a couple of students didn't grasp this. Here's kind of what I was looking for. If anybody else wants to have further comments, please reach out to me. Just as a note, for the archives for the online education initiative courses, and some of us are starting to create those courses, you actually have to post your sessions when you're done in 3C Media. They'll actually professionally caption those for free. If you put them out on YouTube first, they won't caption those. And I would say, if you can, especially for like these sessions, in the classroom, I'm using the same camera and microphone I have now, decent quality, but I actually have this snowball microphone at home, as well as a headset. The headsets actually really provide excellent quality and result in at least 95% plus captioning accuracy. So it's actually really amazing what YouTube does. All right, use case 3. So if a picture is worth 1,000 words, I say real-time collaboration is priceless, just kind of like the MasterCard, it's priceless. So perhaps some folks have played email tag with their students. You're trying to email your student, you send them an email, they send you an email. It might be a couple of hours in between. This might go on for a couple of days, but hypothetically, what about if you could schedule a time with your student so that you can actually work with that student, they can see you, and you can see their screen. Not only can you do that, but you can actually take control of their screen if they allow you. And for things like programming and for like our cyber courses and for office applications, I would think for writing, probably chemistry, biology, probably any course across this campus, being able to be an instructor and say, you could do it that way, but have you kind of thought about it this way? And they see that, and just a light bulb comes on, and you could do this in a matter of like a couple minutes instead of trying to play this, back and forth on emails. It just really is powerful. So,
Rick, can I chime in here?
absolutely.
I really like to use Zoom as an online office hour tool.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about, Jim. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I create a couple half-hour sessions a week, usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights from like 9 to 9:30 or 9:30 to 10. So I have that. But then what I do is that link is available on my homepage anytime. So if I have a student that maybe is emailing me or texting me, I can say, hey, why don't we meet in Zoom right now? Just go to the homepage, click on the office hour link, and boom, we're right there. So it can be a really powerful tool for both scheduled office hours and, as Rick's talking about here, improvised office hours, right? You just want to. And another really cool thing is to use this in conjunction with Google Docs and have the student set their Google Docs at either anyone with a link can edit or anyone can comment, and you can get some really cool interactions going where you and a student are looking at a document on a screen together and in Google Docs working on it together. And it can be really fabulous for anything from a paper to a project to test preparation. It's a really, really powerful aspect of Zoom. Zoom in conjunction with Google Doc is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%, Jim. Great points. So I'd say use case 4, using this as a conduit enabler for online project-based learning. So we're all hearing about project-based learning these days. And probably about 3 years ago, I was doing this great project where in my CSAT 120 class for management of information systems, where I asked students to create a company and do this whole Michael Porter analysis, create a website with social media baked in. And these are just like these just eye-watering, amazing presentations. We're like, man, this is too bad. I really wish my online students can do that. Like, you know what, self, let me just throw this on the wall and see if this sticks for a semester. And I'm telling you, the online students actually will do as good or is sometimes even better than the face-to-face students. And I'll say, hey, you guys, I know you can't meet in person, you're online, but I'll give them Doodle, work out a time to meet, and then use Zoom to virtually meet online. So some will meet at a coffee shop and they'll be, maybe all will be virtual, some will be virtual together at the same place, some will be live together. The only thing that hits here is that 40-minute time limitation kicks in because they don't have a pro account unless they want to pay like, I think $15 a month. That's pretty expensive for our students. But it's pretty simple. If you just, if the time runs out on the students, if they just, reinitiate the session, everybody jumps back on, you have like a 30-second interruption, but they could figure out, and it's pretty good. But again, use case number 5. Did someone say synchronous online session? Why, yes, we did. So if you look at this, Zoom has this thing called Breakout Rooms. So it basically, just like in a classroom where you, instead of having a whole class, you can break folks up into groups, you can do the same thing virtually with Zoom. So, my own experience, I think probably a lot of us has experienced this. You have large numbers, can potentially be intimidating for some. You get those smaller rooms, it's the conversations become more inviting, especially for the introverted persons. People aren't hiding, it's easier to participate. So this truly is like one of the coolest things out there that they just enabled within like the last year or two. So sounds great, but I'm sure everybody's thinking, yeah. This is probably really hard to set up, but no, truly, honestly, guys, nothing is hard with Zoom. It really is intuitive. It really is easy. So what we wanted to do then is go kick the tires. Oh, I'm missing a slide. Oh, there it is right here. So this is as easy and as hard as this is. You guys could see my screen, and then if you come up, I'm in full screen mode, but if you come up here, actually, where is my breakout room session on this one? I don't know where my breakout rooms. Hopefully Jim has it. So I'm going to pass control over to Jim, and then he will do the breakout rooms. But yeah, so basically you come in here, and then you have this whole breakout room. You'll see it down on the bar. I don't see it on mine, so I'm a little concerned. Hopefully Jim, when I pass it over to Jim, his will have that. But if you just hit this breakout room icon right here, then it'll have this create breakout rooms, and it'll basically say assign however many participants into 1 room, 5 rooms, 10 rooms. And I found that the best to have about 4 or 5 per room. I don't know if you agree with that number, Jim, or what you've experienced. So 4 or 5, Jim's shaking his head yes. And I would say as you do this, as a host, you'll periodically check in. So once you do this, you're going to leave the environment, and they're all going to be in breakout rooms. But as a host, what I've done is I'll just like periodically check in to see how it's doing. Make sure all the students are participating. Make sure folks are on the right track. Can
I chime in there, Rick?
I'm sorry?
Can I chime in there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is an amazing thing, and there's a conversation going on in the chat about sort of how it's ironic that we're moving in this direction. That basically, tools like Zoom are taking us into an environment that looks a lot more like a face-to-face classroom. And I guess for me, it's not ironic as much as cool. I think it's exciting because what you're doing is recreating the classroom environment. You're breaking the students up into separate groups. And this is why the camera is so important, because they can see each other. So I just want to say, I make it clear for my online courses that a camera is a required technology, or on the nights of these sessions, you need to get to a camera because it really contributes to the community piece. Because now you're going to be in a space where you're looking at 4 or 5 people. And then as an instructor, you're dropping in on each group, just like if you were in a classroom, right? Moving from group to group, listening in on the conversation, maybe throwing in a comment, throwing a question, and then moving on to the next group. It can be a little scary when you do it, because when you hit the breakout button, everybody disappears. You're left alone. Yeah, you're left alone in limbo.
Yeah.
But that's actually a good time to talk to the recorded audience. So you've got students who couldn't make the session, and you can say a few things to all of them while the groups start talking. And then after a few minutes of talking to the at-home, I call it the studio audience, you can then start visiting groups. And the people who are watching the video get to pop into the different groups with you. So it's just really kind of a fascinating dynamic. I do want to say, I too am worried with Rick, because I'm worried that the breakout function button, it should be showing up, and that the fact that it isn't raises concerns for me. So I'm not sure this is going to work.
Do you have a breakout button on yours, Jim?
No. And if it doesn't work for whatever reason, we'll improvise. But why don't you try to hand over host to me whenever you're ready, Rick, and I'll hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. So really quick, we'll go on to the next slide. So I'm going to pass this over to Jim. I went too many, but yeah. So Jim and I thought that we could tell you about this, but I really think you guys living and experiencing this will really show you the power. So here's some of the questions we thought up of. So within your breakout room, so you guys can kind of take a look at this right here, maybe kind of jot these down, but here's some potential topics. Feel free to go on a different topic other than these, but we just thought, what's a distance education idea you're trying this semester, or what's a classroom idea you're going to try this semester? Was there anything last semester you tried with success? Perhaps maybe there's something last semester you tried without, that didn't have the best success that you're going to try differently this semester. Is there a new effort in your school or at the college that you're excited about? So, and like I said, we didn't want to make this too prescribed.
The key thing here is that each person in the group speak.
Yes.
That's the key thing, is that everybody take at least a short turn at speaking, and that you play around with it and try to get a conversation going. Try to get some back and forth going. So in this smaller group, it's good to have everybody's mics on, because there's a smaller group and there's less challenge with reverb or other problems, and just really work on trying to get everybody a chance to talk so you can sort of see how the ebb and flow works. But I do have to give you a heads up that the PowerPoint's going to disappear, right? You're going to be in a different space where this PowerPoint won't show up.
Right, so that's what I was saying. You just kind of jot some of these down in your head. So
this is why I like to work with a Google Doc, because I'll have these questions on a Google Doc that everyone is directly accessing. So when they move into their group work, they can still be on the Google Doc and see this stuff. So, okay, you ready to switch it over?
I'm ready to switch it over. So yeah, so you guys will kind of see here what I'm doing. So I'm moving. So now worst case scenario, if this kind of bombs out, what we can do is, I think I have a way to get the latest and greatest Zoom. So I could possibly break off for a second, and then we reconvene in a couple of minutes. We want to do that or whatever. But let me pass this over to Jim. And this is as easy as me coming up here. I'm going to do more, and then I'm going to switch this over to Jim and make him the host. As we say in the Navy, Jim, you've got the deck and the con.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good. Yeah, Rick, my screen's showing the breakout rooms.
Yeah, good. All right, so I don't have
I see a conversation going on about PowerPoint. What Rick is just referring to are these slides you're looking at, right? The slides on the screen are his PowerPoint. So I think that's throwing people off.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys want to, if you want to just quickly jot these down.
Pilar's saying she doesn't see any slides. So you know what that might be about, Rick? Someone's
you should be able to see the slides. Is anybody else not seeing the slides? Is everybody seeing active learning in action? So Nina's saying yes.
So it looks like most people are, but Pilar's having trouble. And I thought at least one other person was. Okay. So Pilar, you did something terribly wrong.
Bad Pilar. Bad Pilar.
Bad.
Bad. Just kidding.
We're teaching positive interactions with students here. Pilar, I don't know. We'll try to figure it out with you, though, okay? But we're going to move on, and I think it'll work out in the breakout rooms. It won't matter that you can't see them, okay? All right. Thanks for letting us know, Pilar. All right. So we're going to do the breakout room thing. And so you're going to suddenly find yourself in a space with more people. And we've got 47 people. Holy cow. I think we'll do...
Like 12 groups or...
Yeah, let's do 10. Let's see what happens with 10.
All right, Cal. Yep, there you go.
So we'll go 10. And we're going to do automatically. You can do it manually, but it takes longer and slows things down, especially if you've got 50 people. So I'm going to click on Create Breakout Rooms, and it's so hold on for the ride, okay? So go to your breakout rooms and chat about any one or more of these questions, or really anything you want. Just have the experience of each person taking a turn and sharing so you can get a feel for how this works. See you soon.
Ciao, ciao.
I'm going to open all the rooms.
Hey, guys. How it goes?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good, good. So I guess we're probably, I don't know, we're at least recording this room right now. I don't know if we're recording everybody. So
Okay.
Carol, Matt, and Stacy, you guys are the lucky or unlucky persons that are with me with the recording. So, so yeah. So you guys have a thought on a question or as far as like distance education, something you guys are trying this semester, or a classroom idea, or anything you try with success or not success, or what are you guys thinking?
I mean, I'm teaching an in-person class, and I think it'd be fun to maybe have an online component if some students wanted to do it. Often you get students saying, you know, does anybody want to form a study group or something like that? And I think it'd be fun to create something where they could use Zoom.
No, I like that, Matt. And I would say, and I think you're still muted, Stacy. So just in case you're trying to say something, I don't know if you're gonna pop in or not. I don't know if I can unmute you or not. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I think Jim has a host thing. So yeah, Stacy, if you look at your microphone, you'll see a little red bar through it. If you click on that, that'll allow you to come off mute. And then Carol, are you able to? Okay, so Stacy's in. Okay, got it, Stacy. All right, so perhaps Stacy can just chat with us. And then Carol, is your microphone working, or are you there? I don't know if I hear Carol or not, but yeah. So all right, Matt, we'll just try to keep the volleyball going. In the air, it's like kind of like graduation. But I would say, you know, as we start looking at education, I just think it's so cool and how disruptive in a good way things like augmented reality and virtual reality are. And it'll be interesting, I think, in 10 years to see what the whole educational environment's like, because I foresee a lot of virtual reality, a lot of augmented reality, and I think this is the first step of us being able to, you know, perhaps we could take some of our face-to-face courses and you can make them into hybrids, and then you could really just spice up the hybrid classes and just take, or I'm sorry, the online courses, and just take that to just a whole brand new level with this. And like I said in the beginning, this truly was just revolutionary, evolutionary for me. And I have so many students that'll say, this class, I really felt like I wasn't in some distant island. I really felt part of the class, because they're always seeing me. They see me every week for like 15 minutes on the archive session, on the intro video. The other thing, and I'll try to remember this when we come back in a big group, is that in that 15-minute session, I'll ask 3 questions, or I have like 3 secret words that I bury throughout the session, because if you just put it at the beginning or the end, The students will be able to figure that out and not necessarily listen to the whole whole 10 or 15 minutes, but I'll put one at the beginning, one in the middle, one kind of towards the end. So it kind of forces them to go through that whole, that kickoff video for the week.
Yeah. I think it's interesting about augmented reality as well. I agree. It's going to be so interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I teach math, and there's such a large visual component to it.
Mm-hmm.
When I was an undergrad, I remember, the internet was not fully formed the way it is.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And I remember one of the instructors who I just loved, he was getting ready to retire, and he would always talk about the mind's eye. He'd say something and be like, in your mind's eye, here's kind of what's happening. And that skill of developing sort of the imagination of kind of how things are fitting together. But now we can go ahead and do it. We can go ahead and actually create a graphic or something with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Hey, Carol, are you there? I
am.
There you are.
I had to go find a microphone.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah, good. So have you been hearing?
Yes.
So what are your thoughts, Carol?
Well, Matt, I wasn't listening to everything you said because I left the room to get my mic.
Yeah.
But I heard that you're a math teacher.
Yeah.
And I teach math also. So we may have some common elements here that we could build off of one another. So were you talking about something you tried this semester?
Stacy teaches accounting. Cool. Yeah, I was just talking about the fact that, Rick was mentioning that he thought maybe in 10 years it was going to be interesting to see how augmented reality had complemented the experience. And I was just saying that, I remember when I was taking classes that a professor that I really enjoyed, he'd always talk about the mind's eye and sort of imagining kind of what was happening, being able to see mathematically the relationships in your mind's eye. And it just seems like now with technology, there might be a way of actually constructing a visual that would be really fun for students. And I was just kind of playing on the idea of augmented reality might be an interesting component, we might be able to create some stuff where people can actually see what we're imagining or something,
Yeah, I think we're 5 or 10 years away. I truly think 10 years from now, the way we're teaching now is going to be so different, and there's just going to be so much pressure to have quality online training that it's really gonna. So it's exciting. I mean, it's a bit scary, but it's somewhat exciting all at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's cool stuff.
It's funny. Do you, in your classes, in your online classes, do you put much emphasis on forums where students participate with discussing things regularly in a forum setting?
I do, yeah. So most of my homework assignments, they'll do Excel and Access, and then a big group project, they'll do that collaboratively. But then, I do offer a fair amount of discussion boards, just have those guys, be able to see each other's answers.
Yeah.
The big thing is that I make sure that I check the box so that they have to get their own answer in before they see others, so that way Stacy doesn't write up a great answer and then I'm like, oh yeah, me too, that's great, Stacy had a great answer.
Yeah.
So I'll say, all right, so everybody independently does their thing, and then once you actually add a thread, then you can see everybody else's, and then I typically give them extra credit to go look at others and then comment on others. So I'm like, oh yeah, it's man, Carol and Matt, it's I really like what you guys thought. Have you thought about this? Or, I didn't even think about that. I like, that's a great way of looking at it. And they really kind of get into it. So yeah, I definitely offer discussion boards and forums in my online courses.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like, I do. And I have taught online before. And I feel that, I do Zoom for office hours.
Okay, good.
And then, but with the forums, it's nice because in Canvas, there's such a good tool for writing out mathematical expressions.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Oh, it's amazing. It looks like a textbook. In fact, they use something called LaTeX which is
No, they
basically,
usually, latex, that's like a lip thing, yeah.
yeah, and it looks
That's
amazing.
baked into Canvas?
Yeah.
Mm.
Carol, have you
How do
noticed
that?
that?
How do you get to that?
I'm not using Canvas. I've been using my Math Lab,
Okay, yeah.
and so I don't think that tool is available in my Math Lab. I've been wondering about making the switch, but I know that my Math Lab can be integrated into Canvas,
Uh-huh.
and I'm wondering if maybe I could, if I do that, can I just have all of the tools? So I could have all of the My Math Lab tools that I'm used to using,
Hmm.
and I would also have the additional Canvas tools that aren't available in my Math Lab.
Yeah. Do you use My Math Lab mainly for assignments and things like that, or do you use the forum component of My Math Lab as well?
It's actually a discussion board, and
Oh,
I find that the students don't want to do very much discussion in math, but I've tried various things in the past, like giving extra credit and requiring so many posts, but I've felt that the students were just feeling like it was busy work.
yeah.
I see at the beginning of the semester, I post an introduction and require them to all post an introduction.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice that many of them in their own introductions will set up discussions with other students, which they may carry on during the semester. But that's out of their own desire to have a study partner to work with or something.
Yeah.
And so I use the discussion board quite a bit because whenever a student emails me personally and asks a question about a math problem, I write it up and then I post it on the discussion board, and I ask the students to look there.
Mm-hmm.
And so through the years, I've built up quite a few problems that are there for students to have a look at. I think that sometimes it's just what they need to get over that one little hurdle.
Exactly. Yeah, one sort of instance of seeing it done correctly and knowing somebody is kind of will respond to their detailed questions and stuff like that. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, and I think and I know some teachers, instructors will tell, students that on the weekend, it's fine, don't bother me. I'm a Monday through Friday. And I guess, I don't know, it's like, I'm okay if students contact me, because I know, especially on the onlines, it could be that they don't have, they're working and, maybe working 8, 10-hour, 12-hour days to the week, and the weekend's the only time. And if if they get stuck and you can't help them, then it's kind of like, oh man, I can't do my homework. But yeah, I just find just helping those guys out a little bit and getting them going, I mean, it just transforms them for the class. Like, oh my gosh, you're an instructor, you're helping me on a weekend.
Yeah.
And I just find that, when they get in that moment, they'll want to do the work, but then, they'll get frustrated, like, oh, I'm going to go out to the beach or something like that. And like, all of a sudden, oh, I didn't get my homework in. What happened? Oh, I just couldn't figure it out. So so, and just being able to help them out online and Zoom and seeing their screen and even taking over control is just so huge. I think it's.
I mean, my theory is that as instructors, the most valuable thing we offer them is our time.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree, Matt. No, great point. I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, my students will be like, "Oh, I don't know it." I'm like, "Well, if you knew it, I wouldn't expect you to be in the class." So, yeah.
Classroom, right? So that's a cool feature.
Okay, I'm not really nude.
Who's nude?
I'm not really nude. I lied.
I don't believe you, because all I can see is your face and your face. Oh no! I believe I've just been harassed.
But apparently I'm purple. I look purple.
You have a purple tint.
Kind of like it. It's kind of my thing.
It's the lighting from your computer screen.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
I think if the room is dark, you're getting the glow off the screen. It's a good look for you.
It's the glow. I like the purple glow.
All right, so I think we're doing pretty good. We got about 43 people in here.
Wow.
And I would love to hear a few people's reactions to that experience. What about it was interesting to you? What about it was terrifying to you? What thoughts did you have? Anyone want to share?
We had fun.
We giggled a lot.
Giggling's good.
We never did get our fourth person to quite latch in, but
Just like a classroom, right?
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that was what was nice for me. It was just like a classroom, and it was a nice addition to an online environment.
Right. It's you wouldn't necessarily do it all the time, but it's a tool that you can work in, right?
It's something that helps, like you say, create a unified class. It gets people talking and meeting each other. And I had to put a shirt on to turn my camera on because it's hot.
Sorry, dude. I'm sorry. I know, Alicia, do you want to share? You guys said you had some issues. Alicia, can you comment on Mike?
Yeah, we just had a lot of issues with video and some people not being able to unmute themselves. So it was a little bit frustrating at first trying to get that. So we're wondering how that would impact our students.
It's a really good question. And this is why I put in the syllabus that this is a feature of what we do, that they need to have a camera. I invite them before we have our first class meeting to visit me on office hours so they can check if their connection works. And then at the beginning of the first session, I'm really patient. And I actually take time and have people all check their microphones and their cameras. And the way I do it at the first session, because my groups are smaller, I usually have, out of a class of 25 to 30 students, 15 to 20 will show up. I usually have some activity that I start the class with where I say, okay, everyone, I want everyone to react 15 to 30 second answer to this question. And it may be, tell me about a character in the book, share an idea, tell me something cool that happened at work today, whatever. Just a quick thing where everybody quickly jumps on and gets their voice into the conversation. And by then we can sort of see where the glitches are. And then I can start individually helping students who are struggling with it deal. And sometimes I'll say, hey, you're having tech trouble. Why don't you just listen in for tonight? And then we'll meet privately and work it out for you.
Doesn't Zoom have some videos that can be used to
Yeah,
help
Zoom
people?
has some good stuff, and our help desk is actually really good on this because Zoom is an institutionally supported software. So you can get help from our help desk, which also can link you to really good CCC Confer stuff. So there's good stuff out there, but there's no doubt, I think it was Alicia who raised this, right, that there can be glitches. And so at the beginning, I tell that to the students. We're starting up. There's going to be some glitches. It's okay. Relax. We'll work it out. And we get through it. And usually by about 15 or 20 minutes into the first session, from then on, things run pretty smoothly.
And there's also a test, like a bounce back thing in Zoom as well. So you could self-test, look at their microphone and other items as well. So that's baked in. I'll try to find that link really quick.
Because you're right. That is there. And I think that's a good tool. And I don't remember how to get to that, Rick.
Jim, are you having students on phones do this? Because I have a lot of people trying to do whole courses on phones.
Yeah, well, it works. That's the great thing about Zoom that never really worked well with the old CCC Confer format. Mm-hmm. The phone thing is awesome. It works beautifully. And arguably, that for some of our students, it works better than their laptop or their other situation would be. So I'll tell some students, just use your phone. Use your phone as a computer. And, use your camera and just be on it. I've had students sitting in their car participating.
Right.
Not driving.
I don't know. I didn't ask. No, yeah. I'm in the parking lot at San Elijo, or I pulled over outside work or whatever, and you can see them, and they're at a funny angle, but they do it, and it works fine.
No, I've had a student driving home from work, and you get this angle while they're like... and like looking at traffic, but they're totally like engaged and listening, and it's awesome.
I held office hours from my car on the Zoom app.
What was that?
I've held office hours from my car on the Zoom.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
And I just posted in the chat the join meeting test. So if you go in there, you can basically test before, ahead. I always offer the same thing with my students. Like if you want to test, especially at the beginning of the semester, if you want to test with me, great. But here's also the Zoom Help Center join test or join meeting test, so they could test out before they even join a meeting. So
now
we have a question in our group.
Go for it.
If you make a Zoom announcement thing in one class, a meeting, can you get all your students from other classes in that same meeting, or is it just for the students in that particular class?
Oh, that's up to you. It's basically whoever you.
Oh, you can do it.
Yeah, you could have 80 people in here if you wanted to.
It's based on an invitation link, right?
Yeah.
So as long as everybody has the same invitation link, they can all join.
And by the way,
you have up to 500.
Yeah, and you don't have to send out an invitation. What I do is I just put the link in my assignments. So if we're having a Zoom session, it's part of the assignment. Read these pages, participate in this discussion, come to this Zoom session at 7 o'clock. Or here's my online office hour link. There's no invitation. They just click that link and they're there. So you can send out an invitation link if you want, but you don't have to. You can just put a link wherever you want students to get there from. So Beth, you would just do it in all your classes, the same link.
Okay.
So I did something crazy, Beth, where I actually had my online students join a face-to-face class.
Yeah, talk about that.
So this is like insane, where I have my face-to-face class, and then the online students, I offer them like, hey, I'll give you extra credit if you want to participate. So I have like this class where, class is going on, but then I have online students, and it could be that sometimes a student is sick, like I'm just sick, and if they're down hard and it's going to be like the second day, I'm like, I tell you what, I'll just join on Zoom, and they'll join remotely from home. Now the thing I do tell them is like, I'm letting you do this once because you're sick, that you can't spend the rest of the semester at home. So this isn't a reason that you still have to come to class. I'll do this one-time good thing deal because you're sick. But it's pretty cool. And the students in the class are like, oh my gosh, like, wait, they have their hand up. They're trying to say something. Like, oh yeah, here you go. So it's pretty. I mean, the students kind of get into it in the class. It's pretty amazing because they'll actually have their picture from home up on the screen, so they could raise their hand, participate, answer questions, and everything else, kind of like they're in the classroom. So it's a pretty crazy but very cool dynamic. So
I've got to come in one day and see this, Rick, because
that's pretty cool, Jim.
I'm still having trouble managing it in my head how it all works. There's one more person I really wanted to ask to share before we check out, because I think at about 8 or 9 minutes we'll be at the 50-minute mark, and so people can leave if they want to. So Curry, would you share a little bit about what you're doing with Zoom and Google Docs? Can you kind of nutshell that for us?
Zoom and Google Docs?
Yeah.
So it's a lot like if you were in Jim Julius's meeting earlier today, where he created a Google Doc with blank space, and one space was put your name here, another space was respond to this question, and then respond to this other topic. That's pretty much what I do with Google Docs. Only I think about what groups I want my students working in, and so I'll pre-treat that Google Doc with, I want these 3 students working together because they chose the same text or something like that. So when they log in to the Google Doc, they're going to find a space already with their names populated, and then they just kind of follow directions and fill in that form as they work. And I teach an English 100 class, so I'm asking them to share ideas that are going to lead them towards a draft, or there's maybe they already have a draft and they're sharing paragraphs, and they're going to kind of compare and help push those farther. And then also, later in the semester with research projects, it's just a kind of a topic I'm thinking about and why it's significant, and then some response to that, right? And it's just all in Google Doc. And what I like about that is, in the weeks later, when we really need to be moving forward on the research paper, and I have students in my online class who say, I still don't know a topic, we just go back to that document and we just go down together and we say, well, what about this one? What about that one? And everything's already kind of started, right? And so it's a cool resource that the students create.
I just want to point out, notice how good Curry's lighting is, and notice how clear his voice is. So that's an important part to work on. Like right now, I'm kind of dark because I'm in my office and I usually don't work here and I can't really control the lighting. But when I film from home or when I'm in Zoom from home, I've got some front lighting in front of me. So it's almost like you're appearing on a TV screen,
That is purposeful, because I could do this and
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and it makes a difference. Believe it or not, it really makes a difference. You want students to be able to see you brightly and hear you clearly. And so having a good mic, having good lighting, those are good things. So we've got a few minutes left. Anyone want to throw out a question, a suggestion, a comment?
I do.
Go for it.
One of the other questions we had in our small group was, can students create Zoom meetings for themselves and other students?
Rick, will you talk about that? Rick does that.
No, absolutely. So that's what so I don't think you were able to see the PowerPoints, Beth, but yeah,
Right.
For my online class, when I do that big group project that's worth 10%, I do suggest that they use Zoom. So they can use, now if they don't have a Zoom Pro account, which most don't, there's a 40-minute limit. So if they hit that 40-minute limit, they just kill the session and restart it back up. But yeah, I encourage them. In fact, the first assignment that they do on the project, they have them break down all the tasks, and they actually have to do that on Zoom. And then I make them assign at least 2 persons per task, per line item task, because it's kind of like, if I'm going to go to the gym, it's easy for me to skip. But if I'm like, me and Jim are workout buddies, it's like one of us like, you're not going to gym. Like, no, come on, let's go. We got to go to the gym. So I always have them do that, put 2 persons per task, but I make them go through that whole assignment by putting all the line items and persons per task in Zoom. And that kind of gets them just kind of like warmed up at the beginning of the project. And then, once they start that, it's like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. And they'll actually record it, post it, and everything else. So they actually pick up on it pretty quick.
Great.
And they can do it, and it's all free.
Great question, Beth. Anyone else want to throw out a question or an idea or a suggestion?
I have one, but I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, so first of all, I have a question. What determines who shows up big on the screen?
Whoever's talking.
So you can see me big on the screen?
Yep.
Okay, because I see you. Okay, my question is...
That's a great question, Julie. Really, that's just a great question.
Right. So as an anatomy lead, we have 9 different instructors teaching 9 different sections. And we've tried to find a way that we could take turns holding an office hour open to students of all 9 sections.
Nice.
How would we do that with Zoom?
Well, the tricky part with that is it would be a little tricky because you have to identify a host, right, Rick?
Yes. Yeah, you just have to find the host, and then that would be hard to rotate around. But as long as you coordinated it, like Jim said, I would just bake it into that office hour assignment for that week and say, here's a link, and just put it in there. And if they just click on that link, it'll just join and then they're in.
So what do you mean by a host?
Well, right now, I'm hosting this session. So that means I control things like, is the session being recorded? How do breakout sessions work? Whose mic is on? Whose camera's on? So the host is the person running the show. And that making sure the right person is hosting each session, that would be the tricky part for you guys.
Okay. So if we had the same instructor hosting every Monday night, there could be a link for the Monday night session.
That's right.
And a link for the Tuesday.
Exactly.
Okay.
That was exactly what I was thinking about doing. Yeah. If you could have a regular schedule, then that would fix that problem. And you would just have a Monday night link, a Tuesday night link, a Wednesday night link.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Yep. These are great questions.
Jim, where do we go to become a host? I guess I didn't get that part of it.
Well, whoever creates the session is a host.
Where do we do that?
Rick talked about at the beginning that you go to CCC Confer and you set up an account.
Okay.
And once you have a pro account, you can create sessions. And when you create a session, it generates a link, and that link is what you pass around to anyone you want to come. And so as the creator of the session, you're the host. Right, Rick?
Correct, yes. Yep.
And Miracosta, we have a pro account already.
So
all California Community College professors.
Chancellor's office.
Oh, it's the whole statewide. Okay.
Yep. For instructors, yep.
And so one more question. Are you guys doing this session inside Canvas or outside Canvas?
Outside Canvas.
Outside Canvas.
Just in Zoom alone, Julie.
Okay.
But there is linkage. There is linkages inside Canvas. And the cool thing about that is if it's a little restrictive, and I haven't played with it. I think they've made some changes. The cool thing is that if you do it inside Canvas and that collaborate button, then you'll actually see who came in, and it'll automatically log what students were in and for how long.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. If you're saying, hey, if you're getting extra credit, who showed up, it automatically logs it in there for you.
A year ago or so, it was really clunky. When it first came out, I think.
It was clunky, yeah. I tried it a couple times. It was a bit.
It's worth playing around with, though, because my experience with Canvas is things always get better. Now that they've decided that Zoom is going to be their collaboration tool, I think things will get better. Before that, they were basically using CCC Confer style collaboration tools.
Right. The Blackboard Collaborate was.
And they made a very clunky transition. So, but I would not be surprised if it's better now. But I just don't try it anymore.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share a question, idea? Curry and I have to leave soon because we are hosting. In fact, he may already be gone. We're hosting the Pedagogy of Hogwarts section in a few.
He had the sorting hat on just now.
Did he really?
I was just going to say, I'm heading over to the Pedagogy of Hogwarts soon.
That's awesome. So
thank you, Rick, and thank you, Jim. This is awesome.
See you, Curry.
Where do I go? Where do I go to make you host again?
I'll take it back.
Okay, good. Because I'm going to leave now. But
yeah, let me go in and make sure I do it so we don't.
You guys are welcome to stick around and talk for however you want. And Rick, whenever you're done.
Yeah, I've got it back. Beth, did you have a question?
I'm going to go. Bye.
All right, peace, Jim.
Bye,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
You.
Bye.
Bye.
So you had a question, Beth?
No, I didn't. You guys.
Oh, cool. Your hands. Okay, I'll take your hand
link
out.
you had sent.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, so I just sent the link out. So I think Mel said send it out. So yeah, I just sent it out to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really easy to set up. It literally is just your name and an email, and then that's it, and it's set up pretty instantaneously. So it's, so I guess the last slide I had was, if anybody gets stuck or anything, feel free to reach out to me. If anybody has questions, thoughts, or whatever, if you think of a new cool way to use Zoom, I'm always looking for new cool ways. But yeah, it truly has revolutionized the way I teach, especially my online course. It's completely different feel from a community perspective. So.
Where will we access these links, Rick, after the session ends?
Good question. So I will take this and then I'll post it in YouTube, and then I'll send it to Jim, and hopefully Jim will put that back on the PD Google Docs that he has for the Zoom that has a Zoom recorded session.
Because Karen Turpin was putting her session under the TIC website in the archives.
Yeah, I could ask Karen and Jim if they could do that through this link over there.
If you just let us know, we can save the text of the chat. How? Oh, I see. I'm reading chat.
Yep. So I think if you just go in and more, you can just.
Oh, I see. More. Save the chat. Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Cool. So, okay, so Darlene's saying TIC would be a great as an archive. Okay, so I'll figure out, get the recording, and then I will give it to Jim, and I'll send it over to Karen and Jim Julius, and then see if they could post it on the TIC archive. So, questions? So, not that I'm trying, I have time. I'm not trying to rush anybody off, but I know we've been going in an hour, and some people might be joining Curry and Jim over in Hogwarts land. But all right, so Mel's.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, cool. See you, Pilar. So, like I said, if anybody has any questions or thoughts, I'm always available. I always love helping, and yeah, and I'm doing a session similar to this for the business department for their department training on Wednesday. So.
Hi, Rick. I'd really be interested if you have any thoughts about using multiple devices at the same time with Zoom. So I've got a large screen Mac and I've got an iPad, and the iPad Pro is what I've been doing my video and audio with, but my big screen Mac is great for the software I want to teach. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do about that.
Yeah, well, the only thing about Zoom, and they're pretty smart about this, because they're like, how do we prevent people from, you know, buying one account and sharing it out to 20 people, and the second you log into one station, it boots you out of all the other ones.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yep. So they're smart on that, because there'll be times where I'll be on Zoom in my class in my office, and I'll go to the classroom and I'll do it. Then when I go back to my office, like, oh, you've been booted out. Somebody else logged in with your name on a different computer. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Although it shows me, it shows my name as part of this session, and then also I have a separate slide for my live video. So
yeah,
apparently
there
I
might
am
be a
here
way
twice.
around it. Well, there's a way you can try to go hack it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll work on that one.
A challenge. You got a challenge now, Mel.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Peace, Joe.
Good night.
All right. So, Julie, any thoughts? Any questions? Oh, I'm going to unmute you. Oh, wait. Oh, I think you're still muted, Julie. Oh, you're still muted.
Okay.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
What I'd like to do is end the session because I want to go to the Hogwarts session, and I can't figure out how because I lost the screen.
Oh yeah, you could just say end meeting on your, or leave meeting on the bottom right corner.
But I'm not in the full screen. The only thing I'm seeing is myself.
All right, so I am going to remove you just because I've got that, just because you're asking, but I normally wouldn't remove people. So have fun at Hogwarts, Julie.
Okay, bye.
Ciao. All right, so Mel, Jane. Oh, I saw you in there twice, Mel. So I see what you're saying. Jane, questions, thoughts? You're all good? All right, Jane, see you on Thursday. All right, cool. All right, so sounds good. So let me end the meeting. I'll do the recording, and then we'll get that all posted out and everything else. All right, take care, guys. Have a great evening. Thanks for showing up.